Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamil Alam Johnson, and I'm the president of the Prince George's County Muslim Council. Prince George's County Muslim Council, for those who are not familiar with us, we are a grassroots organization started in 2008, the mission of which is to get the Muslim community involved in the civic and political affairs of the county. The purpose of which is one, to facilitate our way of life, but it's also for the purpose of improving the quality of life for all of our neighbors. Obviously, we have a big election coming up starting on May 2nd. And for those who need to be aware, early voting is May 2nd through May 9th. If you are not yet registered to vote, you can do it in person during early voting between May 2nd and May 9th. And the final election day in person is on May 14th. So we want to make sure that the entire Muslim community, everyone who's eligible to vote, if you're 18 or older and you're a citizen of the country, you should be voting. This is where we get our voice heard. So make sure that you participate. And like we said, if you're not registered yet, then you can register in person during early voting between May 2nd and May 9th. We will also be sending out recommendations, not only directions on voting, but we'll also be sending out recommendations. But the way to get that is make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. You can go to our website, pgcmc.org, and go to subscribe. And you'll be able to get the newsletter so you'll see our recommendations. And so tonight, as we like, so we have this big election coming up. We're supporting Angela Also Brooks for Senate, but we also have two congressional races that are coming up tonight. And there's also some judges races that are coming up. You see those in the recommendations. But we have District 4 and District 5. Every 2 years, the congressional races are up. So tonight we have a candidate that's running for District 4. He is a newcomer to politics, has an interesting background, and we want to introduce him to you so you can get an understanding who's running to represent you. So before I give you his background, I'm going to ask to bring up Mr. Gabriel Njinimbot on the screen. I said I was going to make sure I got that right. Njinimbot on the screen, just to give you a little something about his background. He is running for Congress in the 4th District of Maryland in the 2024 election. He immigrated to America from Cameroon over 2 decades ago, starting out washing dishes at a seafood restaurant, and later became a database analyst and ended up working for local government as well as for Fortune 500 companies, including Prince George's County and Baltimore City. In the meantime, he attended Concord School of Law, has opened up a couple of small businesses, and published 5 books. So he has some of an extensive background and a lot of experience. He is married with 3 children. So at this point, I want to give Mr. Njinimbot an opportunity to introduce himself to our audience and to talk about why he chose to run for this seat. Mr. Njinimbot.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It's an honor to be here with the Muslim community and the council. Again, my name is Gabriel Njinimbot, and the N is silent. In my last name, it's not pronounced. Like you rightly said, I came here about 24 years ago with just $100 on me, and with a strong belief that I can make it in America. And over the decades, I went from cleaning dishes and all the way today, I'm running for Congress. In between, I was a security guard. I took computer classes. I became a systems engineer, worked for this county and Baltimore City and other places. And so today, I run for Congress because I want to give back to the country that has made me who I am. And also, I realize over the decades that there's a lot of gap, a lot of disparity that exists amongst ourselves, especially amongst the Black and brown folks. And today, in across the world, you can see that difference and how some parts or some set of folks are treated based on their religion, what they think, and who they look like. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm here today. And I'm running to make sure that I answer the call for those who are being oppressed, those who are being discriminated upon, and see and make sure that we have a genuine and true representation in the United States Congress.
Well, thank you very much for that. We appreciate the opportunity to get to know you. And we always appreciate people who are willing to take the time to run for office and represent the community. It's not an easy thing to do. So let's talk about campaign. We know that you're new to this. And so let's talk about the campaign. You know, there's a lot of questions. I know people want to hear a lot about your positions, but I want to take a moment to talk about your campaign. As I was saying, you're a newcomer. You're challenging a political veteran from a family of political veterans. Please tell us, what is your strategy for victory?
Oh, it's pretty straightforward and simple for me because I started this 16 months ago. And some folks thought I woke up in the morning and decided to pick up on an incumbent. But from 16 months ago, I started off by understanding that those who matter are the constituents of Prince George's County. And I took 2 months and I talked to 10,800 of them. And I logged in every issue that is most pressing to them and the issues that they're most concerned about. And so, with that in mind, I was able to reach out to all these folks and make sure that I speak to one of them. We go from schools to churches to gyms to shopping centers and talk to these folks. And there's also a lot of people who have never voted at all. And most of them are going to be voting for the first time because they find out that the candidate who is running is a grassroots candidate, an ordinary American, ordinary working class citizen who they can relate with and not part of the establishment or part of any group that's connected to Washington, D.C. or connected to any special interest group. And so he's energized a lot of folks in our community. And so it's given us the momentum to keep going for the past 16 months. And we're going to do that all the way to May 14th. I speak to people every single day in all the communities, including the Muslim community. And I go to the Latino community, the Caribbean community, the people from all walks of life. And that has given us a really strong momentum and support. Uh, Before coming to this call, we made 2,000 door knocks today. And when you talk to these folks, they're seeing somebody for the very first time. We speak to citizens who have lived in Boeing Heights, in Hydesville, in Bellsville for 60 years, and not a single congressional candidate has been to their doorsteps to knock on the door to ask what they think or what they want or who they want to be represented in Congress. So it's been going on. It's been going on very, very well, and we have extremely high hope, and we're very positive that the campaign is doing well, and we'll have a victory on May 14th.
Well, I mean, tell you, so as Muslims, we have many issues. Our way of life is comprehensive, and our concerns are comprehensive also. However, as you know, the biggest concern, the biggest issue that's concerning the majority of the Muslim community right now, and not just us, obviously, people who are not Muslim, is the devastation being reaped upon the people of Gaza by the Israeli government, and the less noticed taking of land in the West Bank. What is your position on the current situation now, and how would you address it long term if you were to be elected?
Well, first of all, the issue in Gaza, it's something that nobody should turn their face away from, because for the past, at least for the past 7 months, coming up to 7 months now, the people of Gaza has gone through a lot. Bombings every single day, starvation almost every day, and blockade of those who want to give some help to the people of Gaza. And not only that, the government of the United States, or well, not all the government, but most members of Congress up to today have not supported the fact that we should end the killings in Gaza. All the mosques have been destroyed. All the schools have been destroyed. Small businesses have been destroyed. 34,000 people have been killed. 70,000 more people are either missing or is still under the rubble. 1.2 million people have completely been displaced and have no place to go. I see these images every single day on Al Jazeera because they show us what they can. And so this is a human crisis that anybody with a conscience has to look at it and say this has to stop. I've read about the issue in the Middle East, especially between Palestine and Gaza, from 1925. And I know it's a very complex issue, but it's come to a point where looking at what's happening there every single day, I mean, every single day, nobody could take a shower. I saw children grabbing food, flour on the floor and trying to put it in their pocket. People can't drink water. You can't sleep comfortably because you don't know what's next, today or tomorrow in the next minute. Not just as a candidate who's running for Congress, but as a human being. I put myself in the shoes of those people in Palestine. And so I feel for them. And so as a member of Congress, I would fight for anything that violates not just the Palestinians as as people of Palestine, but as simple as a human being. I always say that how about we switch and turn things around and put the children and members of Congress in Palestine so they can fully understand what this is all about. But I know they do understand what it's all about. But because of the influence of money, they've lost their consciences. But I'm not going to be one of those because I have children. I have 3 children that I raise. I have a family. I eat. I sleep. And my expectation is that anybody in any part of the world should have the freedom to enjoy a good meal, a roof over their head, and feel secure in their own home. But that's not what's happening in Palestine. But I do think that this is going to change, especially if we elect people who have consciences in the United States Congress. And I'm one of them, and I would not waver.
Appreciate that. Curious as to your thoughts on what's happening now on college campuses. For me, it kind of reminds me, maybe not to the same level degree, of back in the 80s when we were protesting and insisting that schools divested from South Africa. There's a certain amount of controversy that's going on and bringing in the police in some places. We saw that, for instance, Mayor Bauer in D.C. did not bring in the police to deal with this. Other places have. What are your thoughts on what's taking place on college campuses right now around this issue?
Well, I support them. I'm actually planning on taking portable bathrooms to the University of Maryland because they need it, and some food to those folks. I plan on doing anything I could do to support them. Look, a couple of days ago, we found out that in one of the hospitals in Palestine, there was a mass grave over there, and they're still finding more bodies buried by those soldiers from Israel. We didn't talk about that. I looked at the news. We were not talking about that, but we talked about a protest, a peaceful protest in campuses in the United States of America where there's freedom of speech and freedom of expression. So I support them. I just wish I had more powers to enable and help those people to sing even more songs about free Palestine than it is singing right now. I support them in any way I can. I will go to the campuses if they let me. And I actually have a truck with a megaphone on it, and that I could go to the campus and sing along with them. We should let these people speak up their voice and make their voices heard, because they should. Because for 7 months, you have human beings in Palestine killed every single day. As we speak right now, I can assure you somebody is dying in Palestine. But you and I are here. We eat 3 square meals a day. We take a shower. We have a roof over our head. We send our kids to school and hope for the future and have big dreams for ourselves in this country. As human beings, that should be the same thing in Palestine and everywhere else. So student protest in college campuses is we shouldn't be talking about that at all. We should let this happen because we have people actually dying, not protesting, dying every single day in Palestine. And this is not just happened just yesterday. or 2 days ago or 3 weeks ago. This has been ongoing for 6, 7 months, despite the fact that the United Nations said that we should stop. But you have a defiant prime minister in Israel, supported by our own country, unfortunately, that keeps doing what they're doing, and we're still trying to figure out ways, even with the military might we have, to take food into this country, Palestine. I think it really makes the United States, um, its military prowess and its military powers not as powerful as we always think. Otherwise, we should not be dropping food to the people of Palestine as if they're animals.
Thank you. At this point, you're gonna be asked questions from members of PGCMC, and we're also going to take questions from people in the audience who are watching. And so at this point, I want to introduce one of our board members and the co-chair of our political committee, Paul Hamilton, and our administrative executive, Fama Dieng, who will ask questions of the candidate.
Good evening, sir. How are you today?
Good, sir. How are you?
Well, so the first question that I have for you is about economic development here in Prince George's County. It's very important to our community. So far, the FBI has been designated to come here, and there's still opportunities in the federal infrastructure bill. So my question would be, what efforts will you take to make certain that the small minority businesses benefit from every aspect of that project or those projects?
That's a good question. We need more than just the FBI coming to our district. 2 decades ago, when Wayne Curry was county exec, our district was referred to, actually it was the richest Black county in the entire country.
Yes.
When Wayne Curry was county exec. Now, over the decades, this dwindled, and now Charles County is taking the lead as one of the richest Black counties in the state of Maryland.
Yes.
Now, we need more federal projects to come into the district. When you talk to small business owners or ordinary folks on the street, there's a lot of entrepreneurs who want to open up small businesses because that's what they love to do. So we need projects like the FBI and many more federal projects coming to the district because, one, we do need it. Our community or our district ranks second when it comes to crime. And part of it is because there's a lot of opportunities that's been stifled and folks cannot, open up their small businesses. The Department of Commerce, I think, passed one of the biggest programs not too long ago for about $125 million, if I'm not mistaken, to promote small businesses and minority businesses and women businesses in our district. And when I get elected into Congress, those are the kind of things I would push for and talk about it, not just some days, but every single day, because I'm a small business owner myself. And we also need to ensure that we reduce the administrative bottlenecks that is always there when folks are trying to establish small businesses for themselves, especially women and small businesses and people of color. We need more projects to be in the county. We have a lot of abandoned buildings that we can turn into, buildings that can help the young folks who don't want to go to college and have training programs for HVAC or electrical engineering or electrical technicians and so on. We have these avenues and opportunities that the federal government can help us, especially if they reprioritize their goals and objectives from fighting wars overseas and investing in our own neighborhoods. We have a lot of those opportunities. We still have phone booths that is not being used. We have young folks who could set up small businesses to take off these old equipment and install electric charging stations for vehicles, because that's where the future is going anyways. So the FBI coming here, and I know it took a very long time for that to be approved, but we want to push for more federal projects to come into our district because we have a very diverse district. We have a very educated district. And so there are folks who are eager and would love to open small businesses, especially our women. And so we should be able to give them the opportunity to do that and support with federal funds.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Hello, and thank you so much.
Sure. Hi, Fama.
So the next question is, so you've previously mentioned the importance of education. So the cost of higher education has been spiraling out of control for the past few decades. So students are leaving undergraduate school with six-figure debt. So do you have a strategy to advocate for reducing the cost of higher education that has to be carried by the student and their family?
I believe that we should eliminate the cost of higher education, not just reduce it. I say so because my daughter is in Towson University, and we literally talked about this yesterday. Last semester when she was going to school, they gave us the chance to break these payments into 3 payments. But next semester, we don't have that luck. Now, and I fully understand why a lot of our students don't even make it to college, much less coming out with 6-figure debts that they have to pay. So in my view, if we pass in $95 billion in foreign aid a couple of days ago, and 16 billion of it went to Israel to aid the genocide, we should be able to just completely eliminate the cost of higher education. Now, that doesn't just do us good, but it prepares our children, our students, our future governors and congressmen and president and senators, doctors and lawyers for a better future, and which is also good for our country. Now, you have other countries that provide free education for their students. They are not stupid. They understand why they're doing that, because they fully realize that when you and I are not there, their nation will be equipped with very smart, very intelligent, and well-prepared students for the presidents or doctors and lawyers and congressmen and essentially the future generation. So I would support and co-sponsor bills that would completely eliminate higher education costs, because I know we can eliminate it. I know we can do it. We spent 20 years in Afghanistan, and the cost of that war was $3.2 trillion by the time they left. And it was $300 million every single day. I'm not talking about the lives lost on our own side and the citizens or civilians in Afghanistan. $300 million every 24 hours. Now, if you do the math and include Iraq, by 2035, it will be $6.5 trillion that we will be paying as taxpayers. So why can't we just eliminate higher education costs? This is good for us. And not just higher education, we need to invest more on our own the young generation. As you know, Prince George's County's school system ranks number 23 out of 25 school systems in the state. Our students are still struggling at an 8% proficiency in math, 24% proficiency in reading, and only 76% of them will graduate. So if 76 graduate and most of them can't even make it to college, and those who make it to college would drop off at some point because they have to have this conversation next semester when they have to pay upfront all the money, the only choice would be that they have to leave school. They will not go back to school. So look, I'm from Cameroon in Africa, where we struggle to go to school. We walk 7 miles to go to school because, we were less fortunate and the government really doesn't care that much. But we're in the United States of America, where we do everything possible to send somebody to the moon. One of our jets costs $1 billion. We should be able to invest in our own educational system, in our children, and ensure that we're giving out and preparing our children for the stiff competition that's coming from India and all over the planet. We should be able to do that. And I'm going to fight for a complete elimination of that. It can be done.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So our next question from our constituents are, there are conservative elements across the country who are pushing back against the DIF. I mean, I'm sorry, the DEI. which is, yes, the diversity, equality, and inclusion. The efforts include the recent Supreme Court decision ending the race-conscious decisions at colleges and universities. They are even going after the private sector, such as the lawsuit against the Fearless Fund, a VC that supports Black women entrepreneurs. The question would be, what legislative efforts will you take to oppose conservative efforts to end DEI in the public and private sector?
That's actually an excellent question. You know, DEI is one of those topics or issues we need to talk about on a daily basis, not just some days, but every single day. Currently, there's 30 states that's pushing back at this, right-wing Republicans pushing back at this, and there's 100 bills that's been passed to suppress or not talk about DEI at all. And this is not something we should be quiet about. As a member of Congress, as a minority, and as somebody, a person of color, that needs to be addressed. And I would support civil rights groups, the Urban League, and anybody or any organization that's pushing hard to make sure that we are not silenced in the way that the right-wing Republicans are trying to do. You know, it's very difficult in Congress to win a battle by yourself. So what I would do is always band together with those groups, civil rights groups and action groups that are supporting our own folks and making sure that this is talked about in schools, in churches, everywhere we can express ourselves. That needs to be done every single day. Because as you know, if we sit quiet, they're going to take us back to the Stone Age. The history that we've endured, the things we've seen, we cannot forget those. And we also cannot leave our children behind from knowing what the history of our race is. That needs to be talked about every single day. And my plan is, once in the United States Congress, I would align with these folks to make sure that this is talked about every day. And I would be part of the crusade to go out there and talk about this every single day in my neighborhoods, in my church, at the gym, everywhere, because I can see where this is going. If 30 states, Florida, Texas, and the rest of them, on 100 bills in the 118 Congress, so far is pushing this as hard as they do with the help of lobbies and special interest groups and all of that, just think about it. What's going to happen when we sit quiet? It will be just like the genocide in Gaza. And we're not going to let that happen. And I'm not going to be part of that group.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So since the end of COVID, crime, specifically among youth, has spiraled out of control. So we need a way to keep the streets safe, and we don't want a federal directive to just lock up the youth for extended periods of time. So the question is, what ideas do you have regarding that, and how can you get federal dollars to support programs to help troubled youth become productive citizens?
Excellent question. So, as we all know, Prince George's County is the second highest in crime in the entire state from Baltimore City. And there's a lot of reasons for this. And it's not something that can be resolved in just one day. But the steps that can be taken to curb down this crime and also keep troubled youths out of jail. One, like I mentioned before, if we can keep our kids in school and ensure that we make the school environment as conducive as much as possible for them to learn and also conducive for our teachers to teach, that would keep a lot of the students in the school. I remember one time I was exercising at LA Fitness, and I saw 3 high school students from Laura High School. And I asked them, it's 11 o'clock. Why are you here? You should be in school. And they all responded to me saying that the school bills them more than, the gym bills them more than the school bills them. Now, I don't think they realize the magnitude and the gravity of what they said. But if the schools were treated in a way that made it easy or lovely for these children to be in school, they wouldn't be wandering out in the streets during off hour or during school hours. So I do believe that we, from parents to the schools and including the federal government, should do something to make sure that the troubled kids should, one, have a way to easily get back into the community and find work to do by, creating re-entry services for our youth, and also for making sure that families could support them. Because nowadays, it's so difficult with somebody with a criminal background to get a job even at McDonald's. And some of these kids will end up in jail, not because they were true criminals, but because they're they're young kids. They do what young people do. We should also be able to provide assistance for people who are willing to learn and willing to go to school but don't have a means to do so. I know a lot of students, especially immigrant students, who come from foreign countries, and the parents are working 3-4 jobs to put food on the table, pay some bills, pay rent, and they end up not going to school because there's nobody to literally take care of them. We should go out and look for cases like this and put them into school, because this is good for America. It's good for the American economy, because the more we sideline these kind of kids, it diminishes our economic value, our economic strength as a country. We should also support youth mentoring programs. I mentor a lot of 18-year-old kids, students, and believe it or not, this really has an impact. Especially now that I'm running for Congress, most of them do gravitate towards the fact that, so they have one of their uncles, as they call it, running for office. They never thought somebody who is ordinary and come to the neighborhood every day could run for office. Now they're very, very encouraged and motivated to run for higher office. These are the kind of examples we need to set. And I would also like to encourage the federal government, again, to use some of the money they use to sponsor genocide and wars overseas, and programs that don't work, and redirect them to our young generation. I'd really like to emphasize about our young generation, because they're the future leaders of our country. We cannot ignore them. And a lot of times the federal government would defer that to the state, and the state would defer it to the local government or city council and down the chain. But the federal government needs to get involved with the young generation. And I'm going to be pushing that while I'm in Congress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. This question is from myself. I'm an entrepreneur, and you did touch on it when we spoke a little bit. You touched on it a little bit when we spoke about the FBI coming here. But as an entrepreneur, increasing entrepreneurship is very important to our community. Therefore, if we're going to keep the dollars circulating in our community, what type of ideas do you have using like the federal organization programs like SBA, Department of Commerce, minority business development agencies, the 8A programs? What can we do to help grow entrepreneurship here in Prince George's County programs?
That's, I'm an entrepreneur myself. I have started 5 small businesses and run all 5. And we know that it's not very easy to do that. The first thing I'd like to say is that the SBA needs to find ways of supporting small businesses. Right now, it's very, very challenging, if not impossible in some cases, for the SBA to grant you a loan, even with a 1% interest rate, and have you pay back. But what they don't realize is that not just Prince George's County or the state of Maryland, the backbone of our economy is run by small businesses. If you were to take out all the small businesses in Prince George's County, there will be no life in Prince George's County at all, period, at the end. So the first thing I would like to say is that the SBA needs to reduce the number of, not saying that they shouldn't look at, do their due diligence before providing loans, but they need to reduce the number of requirements that they have to meet. And the SBA needs to make sure that they but they need to relax the administrative bottlenecks that is there right now to make sure that small business owners, minority business owners, women business owners should be able to have a loan and open their small businesses and pay back the loans. There's a lot of people who are willing and able to do that, but they're not able to get these grants or loans from the small business owners from SBA for whatever reason. I know a lot of people who are looking for these loans, who've applied for these loans, and they can't get it. But I really believe that the administrative bottlenecks should be reduced and make sure that someone like yourself should be able to have a loan, open or expand your business, and be able to survive. Most small businesses will close within the first 2 years from the day they open, because one, they either took a personal loan and put it in the business and it didn't go the way they thought it would go, and they will go out of business. If they go past 2 years, the 5-year mark is another test. Most of them will not go past 5 years. So I think it's the government's responsibility to understand, and I know they do understand, that the small business owners are the ones who run the engine of America, and also give that chance to them by issuing contracts, issuing loans, and encouraging them, and issuing programs like financial literacy programs, and also open agencies that teach people how to start a small business. And people could go there and inquire what it takes to run or open up a ballroom or a grocery store or an exercise business, things like that. Most cities don't have that, and so people just go blindly and start a business and realize that, you know what, this is not what I was supposed to do, at least not in this region or in this locality. So there's a lot that we can do. My thing is that the government has so much money that it doesn't prioritize it right, and always has the priorities shifted abroad, and opening up military bases, 800 of them right now as we speak, in foreign countries. How about we close 500 of them and give the money to small businesses, and so they can invest in our economy, power our economy, open more businesses, create more jobs, keep many more students or people off the streets, and open up programs for youths who don't want to go to college, and so on and so forth. So I really do think that there's a lot that our government can do, but we need to elect the right folks in government who live in our streets, in our neighborhoods, and own small businesses like yourself, who understand what it means to be a business owner, to be a family person, or a teacher, or a nurse, and things like that. That's where we should begin at, getting the right folks in the office.
Thank you so much for your answer, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So the next question is, so there continues to be significant discussion about what our immigration policies should be and how we deal with people seeking asylum at the border. So who do we bring in that can help our economy, especially our high-tech economy? What do we do with people that are here undocumented, dreamers, and otherwise? And as an immigrant yourself, what immigration policies do you support?
Well, I know for a fact that if somebody is in this country already, it costs so much money, and we have millions already in the country that are illegal. But the question we should ask is, are these illegal immigrants ready, willing, and able to work and want to work? If they do, we should provide pathways to have them be legal in the country and actually make them work. Because based on my experience, I know tons of them who are illegal in the country, but all what they want to do is given an opportunity to work, send their own children to school, see them achieve their own dreams. And the more we have them sit for 5 years, 7 years, and 10 years in some cases, just sitting on a bench and waiting for something to happen, we diminish our economic potential. Because I know for a fact that right now, there's a shortage of nurses in our country. There's a huge shortage. And I know a lot of people who want to be nurses, but there's not much they could do because they're not legal in the country. There's no clear pathway to citizenship for those who are here right now. And for children who are born here, this is their country. We can't send them away. We just need to make sure that we make the schools someplace for them to go and learn, because we know that they will come back into the economy and give back to the economy and give back to the country, the very country that has made them their lives who they are, like myself. There's a lot of them in our country like that. And also know that there are cases where people will come in with really bad intentions. That's when the government should ensure that they do proper vetting before, leaving somebody to stay in the country. And I know it's not a very easy process, because we have these folks coming in the thousands every single day. But again, we have the resources. We have to prioritize these things and keep politics away from it, because the moment we focus on the fact that some of these illegal immigrants are coming to spoil the blood of our country, then that shifts our priorities to ensuring that we send them back at tax dollars expenses. So I do believe that we can fix our immigration policies, but we have to also make sure that we vet those who come in, and those who are already here, we should put them to work. And I know that a majority of them are here to work and help their own families and help themselves as well.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
And we also have a question from the audience, which is, so will you pledge to vote against military aid to Israel now and in the future?
Today, tomorrow, and in the future. Every time, look, I think that, I believe I know that the people who need help the most, more than Israel does. There's people all over the world, in South Sudan, in Cameroon, even in this country, even in my neighborhood. I have people who canvass for me that can't afford to eat 3 square meals a day. I have people who come to my small business who, I'll give you an example of a gentleman who came to my store. He came to I used to sell used tires. He came to my store with a wife who was paralyzed, who had a stroke in the process of having their first baby, and that baby was a month old. Not only that, the tank of the car he was driving had a hole on it, and he could only put gas in this tank for $10. Because if it was anything more than $10, it would overflow and possibly caught fire. So I say this because we have people in our own country. We have veterans under highways, overpasses, spending nights over there. And there are people who fought for and bled for, and some of them died for our country, holding signs on street corners saying, I have no place to go. I have no food to eat today. You have a lot of people who work so hard to make just a bare minimum to survive and send their own children to school. You have people living on our streets in tens of thousands. You have teachers that are not getting paid well. Our country might be the most powerful country on earth, but you still have people in our own nation who needs help. But yet we send $16 billion to a country that doesn't need one, and a country that's aiding a genocide and bombing people every single day, 2,500-pound bombs every single day. We don't need that. We need to help our own people first. We need help. Our students need help. Our children need help. Our senior citizens today are still struggling themselves. Citizens who worked and paid their dues in this country for decades are still struggling. Yet we pass bills, $90-something billion to foreign countries. More so because those who are passing these bills and voting for these bills and voting for these laws have no idea what it means to earn a minimum wage. They have no idea what it means for someone to leave their country, brave the high seas in the jungles, and come here and earn a minimum wage, $5, $10, $2, $5, save up money, take computer classes, become a systems engineer, raise children, and now running for office. They have no idea what it takes. They have no idea what it takes for a family in Palestine, for a 9-year-old boy in Palestine whose family has been completely wiped out, wandering the street and asking, where is dad, where is mom, and has no place to go. They have no idea what it means for a 2-month-old baby abandoned in an ICU in Han Yunis in Palestine for months because of the bombardments. Because if they do, and they have children themselves, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't vote for these bills, knowing what the consequences will be. They wouldn't. So to the folks who are listening, this election this year is a very, very consequential election, not just locally, but internationally. And that's what everybody should do. Do some due diligence and look and ask questions and make sure you know who you're voting for. And if you look at my background and you see that I'm somebody who's not going to care for our own senior citizens, our own students, our Muslim community, you don't have to vote, because your vote counts. Your vote is going to be used to pass laws that would cut minimum wage, that would increase interest rates, that would send bombs to foreign countries to kill children and innocent civilians and women. So, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Thank you. The next question from the audience is, what suggestions do you have for the issues you just raised, specifically help for those in need?
One, I would suggest that the government pay close attention to what's happening in our neighborhoods. Unfortunately, we're the ones who have to, we're the government. I would suggest that folks should vote for me, number one, because I know what's happening in our neighborhood. And with the right representation in Congress, you will have the right laws voted for. The right laws will be passed. So I'm suggesting that, one, we increase more funding for our schools. We make sure that we increase the salary of our teachers and give them an incentive to go back to the classroom and teach. I would encourage that the government should give small loans to small business owners, because our small businesses, our grocery stores, our barbershops, our ballrooms, and so on, these are the people who make the engine of this country keep running every single day. So I would suggest that the government should scratch its stomach before trying to scratch its back by paying attention to our ordinary folks on Main Street, because we're the ones who make the bedrock of America. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're mute. You're on mute.
You're on mute, Brother Jamal.
Trying not to make an unnecessary noise. So, Mr. Njinimbot, thank you very much for spending this evening with us. Again, thank you for running. Before I close out, want to ask you if you have any, final words for the audience. This also will be going out, so people who didn't see it tonight will have an opportunity to see it throughout the election. So, any final words from you?
Thank you. First of all, let me say thank you. A couple of days ago, I did see the endorsement by the council, and it made my day. And it also gives me the opportunity
by this council?
Well, no, by CARE.
Oh, by CARE.
I should have be specific, but that gave me, or it's going to give me, the chance to represent the community I care for, the people I know need help the most, and should go out and vote for Gabriel, because my vote is your voice, and your voice does matter, and the voice of everybody else who is struggling to uplift themselves from poverty and also enjoy the freedom as a human being.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank everyone who is listening. We'll also be sending this out again for people to watch. You know, the key thing is that our community, I want to speak to everyone in the United States who has an opportunity, but particularly I'm speaking to our community, to the Muslim community here in Maryland, here in Prince George's County. You have an opportunity to make your voice heard. I probably quoted this hadith more in these last several months than I have in previous years. When you see something wrong, stop it with your hands. As the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu taught us, if you see some evil, stop it with your hands. If you're not able to do that, speak out against it. If you're not able to do that, then hate it with your heart. But that is the least form of faith. Voting is one of the ways that we're able to make our voice heard, to make sure that people understand where we are on the issues, and that we can have an effect on policies that are made in this country. So, make sure you have this opportunity between the 2nd and the 9th to vote early. You have this opportunity to vote on the 14th. As I said in the beginning of the program, if you're not registered now, but you're 18 years or older and you're a citizen of this country, you can still register to vote, between the 2nd and the 9th. You have to do it in person when you go early vote. And also let you know, like I said, PGCMC will sending out its candidate endorsements. But I will tell you right now also that we are encouraging, the uncommitted vote at this point in time. We're supporting that. So we want to make sure that people pay attention to what it is that we have to say. And it's up to us. If you're going to stay home, if you're not going to do anything, as people always say, that in itself is a choice. It is a form of a vote. It's the same as someone who, when they say all in favor, all opposed, any abstentions, you're still participating. You're just choosing to abstain. So don't make it seem if there are a couple of people running, one of them is going to win, and you're going to have to deal with that person who wins. So make sure you have put your choice in place so you can have an effect on what happens. Jazakallah khairan to everyone, and also make sure we have to work this as a community. So make sure you are a supporter of the Prince George's County Muslim Council. You can go to our website at pgcmc.org, become a member, subscribe to our newsletter, or if you're the active type, fill out our volunteer form and get involved. Jazakallah khairun. Subhanallah, subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika wa ashhadu la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayhi. Good night, Brother Njinimbot, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.